So, just a little bit of information for this week's update on the project. Have more wiring fun. What I found out is I think I mentioned this a little bit last week that I was working on the doors here and the wiring harness from the doors. So, a couple of things I found out was I can't remember if I mentioned this last time or not, but even though the connectors from the body harness to the door harness matched, they are completely different. Turns out that the issue why when I would turn the key on in the car and the lights would come on, kept thinking that the door was open, was because it turns out that the latch here from 7 to 14 is completely different. It takes a different plug, and the assembly is actually completely different. And that therefore it wasn't getting the signal because it uses the '07 one uses two connectors, and the stock one, the 14 one, either uses a 4 or a 6-pin one, depending on the model that you have. So therefore, it wasn't getting the signal and thought the door was open all the time, which is why the dome lights were on and the lights on the dash kept coming on saying the door was ajar, even though the door was not open. So I had to replace that. And of course, the whole mechanism is different because normally this was all solid in here. So I ended up having to cut this piece out here so that this would fit in, because this is completely different. Also, the piece that connects the door handle to the lock actuator is different also. So thankfully I didn't have to change out the inside door handle, but I did use the little rod from the 14 to plug into the door handle and into here, and seems to work fine. The door opens and closes. I also found out that interesting enough, you wouldn't think a mirror would change very much, but indeed it does. The connector is different from 7 to 14 also. And so I have to get a new mirror from a 14, and then that way the connector will plug in. Also found out everything seems like it changed. You wouldn't think some of this stuff would change, but it seems to have. For the window, as you can see kind of here, I have the glass out, and the connector also for the motor actually turns out to be completely different also. For the window motor, the connection is different. So when I pulled that out, then doing some more investigation, I found out also that the holes are in different locations also. So here's the 3 holes for the 7, and they're the one for the 14 is actually like down here more, and this is kind of in a different spot. So not only is the connector different, but the motor is, or not the motor, but when I say the bracket that holds the motor to the door is completely different also. And it turns out the rails are also different, because in 7 you can kind of see one of the brackets is down there. It goes through, and in 14 it actually comes through the side. And so I didn't want to use the brackets or the sliding pieces from the 14, because I thought, well, because there's a little bit of an indent here on the 14, so I thought, well, that might throw off the geometry a little bit, maybe make it bind or cause issues. So I tried swapping out the motor, actually basically taking the rails off from the 14 and trying to put the 14 or the 7 rails on the 14 complete mechanism. That didn't quite work out very well. And then I found out, I just happened to be searching for something on eBay and found out that somebody was selling the motor replacement for one of the cars, and it didn't, to me initially when I looked at it, it looked like the motor was assembled as part of that entire unit, so the motor would not come off. Well, it turns out I didn't look close enough on it, and the motor in fact does come off that assembly. So I did have to drill out the holes a little bit bigger because I used different bolts to hold the 14 on versus the 7 motor, but I was able to put the 14 motor on the 7 holding piece for the door so that it would fit in here, and I'm trying to get the wire to go back on the assembly, the rails and stuff. It's actually in the house. I can't really show it right now, but that whole mechanism. However, that wire is strung so tight that it took me quite a bit to get it off, and now I can't really get it back on again. So I did order another one off eBay, just kind of as a backup. And what I may do is when I get that in, then I can just take the motor off that and swap it with the 14, and won't have to take the wires out, which will make it better. So running into tons of issues here, but hopefully when I go to do the driver's side, now that I got all this figured out, for the passenger side here, the driver's side should go fairly quickly. But that is a bunch of the issues that I found. You wouldn't think that still within the same, S197 model, just a few years apart, that they would change so much. And, something as simple as a locking mechanism or the window motor or the, mirror would change a lot. You think they would use the same one for 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, but nope, they seem to change that stuff quite a bit. So that is different. Oh, and also something as simple as the excuse me, something as simple as the button for the door or for the window to go up and down. Again, button that just window goes up and down. You wouldn't think that would change. Yep, but it did. So I had to get the button mechanism from a 14 to go on here, because that's also completely different. Just something to make the window go up and down, but the connector is different. So many things I'm running into that are a lot different, and unfortunately keeps delaying the project a little bit. But that's kind of where we're at, and I still have to mess with the taillights yet, but I kind of took a sidetrack from that, because every time I would turn the key on to check the electrical for that, I was having the fuel leaks up on the fuel rails. So I kind of had to stop until I got the fuel rails taken care of, and I got all the leaks figured out, which I have. So all the leaks are now figured out with the fuel rails. So that should be good. And then I thought, well, as long as I was messing with that, let me check with the doors. And then I found out when I was at O'Reilly's the other day that the locking the door mechanism, when he looked up the one, I happened to mention to him that I was fighting these issues, and that the door kept saying it was open even though it wasn't. And so he looked up for me this mechanism on a 7 and a 14. He goes, there are different part numbers, and he goes, actually they look completely different also. So that's then what started me down this path to get this taken care of, so that I can leave the battery plugged in and not have the lights keep coming on because the system thinks that the door is ajar. So, like I said, just kind of running into one little issue after another, but hopefully getting it all figured out and taken care of. So that's kind of where we are at right now with things. So just kind of wanted to give a quick update on where things were at and more wiring fun. So thanks for watching. Bye.